Hello and welcome to Alternative History. I'm glad you found your way here. If you're new here, my channel is all about ancient history, especially ancient Greek history. And today I will do something different. I will react to the trailer, The Return. And like it says, it's about the return of Ulysses in English, but it's about the return of Odysseus, the king of Ithaca, after 20 years. As maybe some of you might remember or know, Odysseus was one of the great Achaean kings, or Greek kings fighting in the Trojan War against the Trojans, and he fought there for 10 years, and he needed 10 years to go back home because, of a curse. I'm honest, I reacted to it already in German, but as I'm not technically very savvy, I had to do it 2 times in German because I only had half of my audio and my reaction recorded. So you will get a genuine reaction from me in English too, and maybe also a little bit more info because I watched it for the 3rd time now, and so I noticed much more details. So let's start.
Our king Odysseus, the smartest of all the heroes. He led us for 10 years in the Trojan War, before his brilliant plan to build the great horse. The Trojans thought it was a gift and took it behind their walls. Then, out poured our soldiers. Odysseus led us to victory. People love stories.
I love the intro in that how they tell it visually. They are clearly inspired by the Vase paintings that were more common in the late archaic period, as I remember correctly, and especially in the classic period. So I like that detail, and it's also kind of a different approach to a trailer in my opinion, because you already know what happened before. I mean, maybe it can work for some people. I already know the story, but it's interesting. It's different.
You were there?
I am Odysseus' wife.
Odysseus is dead.
Not to me.
There is no king. He sailed to Troy years ago. Took the best men with him.
All year, suitors have been turning up, waiting for his widow to choose a new husband to be king.
Scoundrels, they're just here for your wealth.
Look at this island. A wasteland. Gangs of thugs terrifying the people.
They need me alive. At least until I choose my husband.
Mother, we can't live with those savages anymore.
I will choose soon, when I finish my wedding cloak.
That woman's making a fool of you. Of us all.
I know who you are.
A tramp!
Okay, there is a lot to talk about in my opinion. I will talk about the costumes, and for example, this guy here, he's clearly from a more elite class. Maybe he's also only a merchant, but you can clearly see how Odysseus wears his costume. He dresses more like a beggar. He has a very simple coat here and a skirt. I call it skirt. It has probably a different name, and a plain skirt. And we know from... That's my cat. Sorry. We know from frescoes that men in general wore skirts too, very short skirts. I mean, it was a warm climate. I honestly don't know, but maybe I have overlooked some frescoes and other visuals from rings and so on, with men wearing longer skirts. I don't know, maybe they are also more inspired by Iron Age clothing from Greece. And to be honest, I don't know very much about Iron Age clothing. During the archaic and classic period, men wore longer skirts, and he also wears 2 different colors. In general, Mycenaean people, and we suppose that it plays in the Mycenaean times because the earliest date given when the historical Trojan War played was the Mycenaean times. Some people think that it was inspired by a later maybe Trojan War, so it can be the Iron Age too, maybe, but I don't know about this one. And if they mixed so much different colors, they had different patterns they did, and different colors within, layering, especially women with their skirts. We know that from frescoes. Men, to some degree, My cat is going crazy. I don't know about his necklace. They prefer to wear gold, but also other... God. I'm yelling at him in German. He takes me seriously. I don't know about this necklace. They preferred to wear gold, but they also wore pearls and other stuff. But I don't know about this coral. It's coral. I didn't see any of this in grave goods, but can be. I find it interesting her. Where is she? Okay, maybe here. She wears a very plain dress. If she maybe is from a higher class, it would be much more colorful, especially for women. And she would not only wear one dress, but they sometimes wear a blouse, kind of, which was closed, like here. And then a skirt, which was layered with different colors. And you can also see her shoulders. That would be maybe too much for Mycenaean women. They were much pruder than Minoan women, for example, because the Minoan women, you can see from frescoes that they showed much more cleavage, some even the whole breasts. But with Mycenaean times, that changed. They were very prude, wore longer sleeves, and you also couldn't see their breasts anymore. They made sure that you don't see that anymore. It was maybe too provocative.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative. No, it's not. It gets those people going.
What is also interesting about this guy, where is he talking to Penelope?
Several months later.
Okay, I can't find this guy anymore. He's much earlier. I think it's funny that a lot of guys here wear scarves. I never saw it because it seems more like a scarf and not like a clothing belonging to the underskirt or to the skirt. It's very strange in my opinion, especially for the Mycenaean times. I loved that they at least wear more color, especially also the men wear more color than the men in the Netflix docu of Alexander, and they don't wear any leather. Thank you. It looks a little bit washed out. I mean, that can happen, of course, naturally, so I don't complain about that too much. But when we see the frescoes of Mycenaeans and Minoans, but especially the Mycenaeans, as I suppose it plays in the Mycenaean time or later after the collapse, they were very colorful. They wore colorful clothing, like I said before. They matched different clothing. Oh, I see, you can see it here. They match different colors with each other, with different patterns on the colors and so on. They had big productions, especially in pylos, whatever you call it in English or pronounce it in English. They had big productions of clothing in pylos, and I have to look that up. And had specialized seamstresses and in general textile workers that were specialized or heavily specialized, and those were in general most of the time luxury goods produced in the palace centers. So I don't see a lot of patterns here, but maybe we are in the Iron Age already, where they wore more casual clothes. What I do like is that some men, not all of them, but some men walk topless or more topless, which is accurate for this time period.
Of us all, I know who you are.
A tramp.
If I were free, I'd fight for what was mine.
So I talked a lot about clothing, but now we'll talk about the content itself. Penelope, like I explained before, was waiting for Odysseus' return for 20 years, and she was one of the few people on Ithaca that believed that he was still alive and would return. And it's not just like after those 20 years, men were trying to pursue Penelope. No. Some men even tried much earlier because it was believed for a much longer time period that Odysseus was long gone. It's also interesting when this guy, his former servant, as I remember correctly, but I forgot his name, he was one of the few people who recognized Odysseus after he came back after 20 years. I mean, after 20 years, people change a lot and sometimes you can't remember their faces anymore. So Odysseus also was in great danger after returning to Ithaca, and he had to kind of convince the people that he was Odysseus, or it's better said, he had to prove that he was Odysseus. Also, one of the other people, one of the other characters that I recognized Odysseus immediately was his dog. I didn't see a dog, so maybe they cut him from the plot.
Why not fight for my people?
What will the people say when they see I have returned alone? That I led all their men to their deaths?
This land is ruined. I sacrificed it for him.
I have a proposal for you. A hunting party.
Where is he?
Who are you?
Your waiting is over.
The one amongst you who can string the bow and shoot the arrow through the axes, that man will be my husband.
A lot to talk about here. What I didn't realize, I have to look it up. Still, I cannot get over those scarves. They don't make sense. I think he's the son of Odysseus, so Telemachus, and for Prince, that clothing, no, sorry. Why? He's a prince. The elite had much more elaborate or elegant and much more fancy clothing. I saw an interesting guy. He's interesting in my opinion. Because you can see some patterns here and he has a very bright red skirt. I like that. The pattern, I cannot recognize it from frescoes or any other visuals from rings, for example. I think that's made up. Okay, my cats just kill each other. And also about the jewelry. I hate this word. Jewelry. Jewelry. You have to live with that. And I also have to live with that. This jewelry, I don't know what this is. Especially if it doesn't have any ornaments. So it's interesting because Mycenaeans, they were also famous for ornamenting their gold, especially the gold they wore. Those rings are interesting, probably more accurate than this one. And this guy, he, don't know why he wears this cloak, but he's probably from especially elite status, and he probably is one of the more famous suitors of Penelope, but I can't remember any of their names, to be honest. And he also wears a simple golden ring necklace. We can see that from Brave Goods, so that's at least accurate.
And shoot the arrow through the axes, that man will be my husband.
Close the gates.
How can men find war but not find their way home?
Some war becomes home.
Give the man the bow.
Penelope is very interesting for me because she is seen with eyeliner, and we see that Mycenaean women from the elite at least wore heavy dark eyeliner here and here. Some even arched further. They also made their eyebrows much darker, and that didn't change much from the Minoan women regarding makeup trends. And I think that's a nice little detail. Maybe they didn't do it intentionally, but I still like it. About the headscarves, I don't know if there was a special case for widows. I mean, she believes that Odysseus is still alive, so she doesn't regard herself as a widow. From the frescoes and other visuals I saw, also from the Minoan women and the Mycenaean women, I didn't see any headscarves or things women wore on their head, to be honest. They had elaborate hairstyles, and they did ornament them, but didn't hide them completely. Maybe this is an Iron Age thing, if it was already a thing, but wearing headscarves and covering up the hair more or even fully. Okay, I have to explain it a third time because my cat, he's up there. I can show you. He's right up there. This little. I love him. I love you. And I despise you. Du bist echt mal ein kleiner Arsch. He's going absolutely crazy. So back to the covering hair. There are no frescoes that I know of or other visuals showing Minoan women nor Mycenaean women covering up their hair. Covering up your hair became a thing much later. I don't know from the Iron Age, but at least Archaic Age, it became probably more popular. Maybe not covering up your whole hair, but part of it, especially if you are married. Especially if you're from Athens, there is much more documentation about that. So this is, I think, much more of a creative approach regarding costumes, but not with historical or archaeological evidence. Yeah, I mean, this is the whole trailer, and I don't know what's your opinion about it. I think the trailer already tells the whole story, to be honest. I like the casting for the main cast, at least, because I don't know the actor of Telemachus, to be honest, and I don't know the suitors anymore. But for me, yeah, Ralph Fiennes is a very fine cast, in my opinion, because Odysseus is also a very complex character. He's very cunning, and he's neither very good nor very bad. He's a very interesting character, an ambitious character, even in the Iliad and Odyssey. So he, in my opinion, he's a good cast for it. I buy it, at least. Also, Juliette Binoche, I always liked her performances and love a lot of her films. So I think she's also a very good cast for Penelope. Yeah, and nothing more to say about that. We also see a lot of diversity regarding the people. And I can tell you, because I did a lot of research regarding my podcast in German for the Bronze Age Greece and Bronze Age Greek people, or what if we can call it even Greek, and they were very endogenous, yes. Scientific studies regarding that genetical material were done for skeletons from Greece to the mainland, especially Pylos, and Mycenae. And we know that for many generations, for many hundred years, even thousands of years, didn't mix a lot with other people in the Mediterranean, not even with the Anatolian people. There were Neolithic indigenous people before the so-called steppe people, the so-called steppe migration people came to Greece, especially mainland Greece, as the Cretes and the Minoan Cretes. And you can see very good that they are their own group. They have a much lower percentage from the migration coming from the Caspian Sea and the steppes. Genetic material from the mainland Greeks, it's much higher with those people. And those people migrating from the Caspian Sea and the steppes came around before 2200 BC. Researchers think it happened already earlier. Even hundreds of years later, the genetic pool didn't change much. And we're talking about 1600 BC and even later. So they stayed within their own group, and sometimes even, especially in the elite, in their own social group. Genetic studies were done on some Mycenaean skeletons because the researchers wanted to look into the familial or the relationship, especially blood relationship between those people. And they found out that there was a high percentage of cousin marriage within the elite. That's an interesting part because we know that didn't change a lot in later centuries, not only in Greek history and not only in Greek culture, but also other cultures and other time periods, that you wanted to have the power within your own family and that it should stay within your own family is something very, very old in human history. I talked about it extensively in my first episode about the earliest mainland cultures of Bronze Age Greece, and I will link those papers in the description because, like I said before, I cannot remember them entirely and what the percentage was, but from the latest research I did on them 1 year ago, my research, but the research of genetic experts, I think the trailer already tells the whole story and what will happen and how it will happen. And it already has the one or a few high emotional points. I'm also a little bit biased because I'm not that into the Odyssey like I'm into the Iliad. And compared to the historical Bronze Age, I'm really not that much into mythological sagas anymore as I was when I was a teenager, maybe, when I ate those stories up. So for me, yeah, the trailer didn't kind of hit me. But what about you? What do you think about the trailer? Did it captivate you and motivate you maybe to go into the cinemas to watch it? And let me know your opinions. Thank you very much for watching. Follow me and also like my video. I would be very thankful for that, and see you next time.